How did his love for death metal, album covers, and the arts transform to this? Ooh. Trippy. What is that? Digital artist PJ Ong shares to us his journey and how he tamed all that youthful energy into great works of art. Our very own presents Mind Grenades with PJ Ong. Hi everyone. As promised, we have one of the top-notch graphic designers, perhaps not just here in Cebu, but all over the country, if not the world. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, Mr. PJ Ong of INODORO. Hi, PJ.
Hi. Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you so much, man. I've seen all your work on the social media platforms, and they are unbelievable. They are beautiful. Of course, INODORO is the company that you founded. But before we get to that, before you get to what you do, which is graphic designing, PJ, if you don't mind, can you share to us, how did you get into graphic designing?
I think when I was young, I knew I had to do something with arts in general. So, but I think I knew when, because I was so exposed through my father's record collection. And then when I was, at a certain age, at an early age, actually, I was exposed to music. So I knew when I saw these covers from cassette tapes, vinyl records, I knew I wanted to do something with that. And college came, I knew that I think when you have to do, I think graphic design involves type, images. So I think I took up that course because I think it's an entry level of when it comes to visual culture. Yeah.
So how old were you when you were exposed to your father's records? You mean the long play records, right? The covers of albums of 33 records, and as well as cassette tapes, right? Even CD covers. So how old were you when you were exposed to them?
Oh man, when I was in kindergarten. So
really now?
Yeah, 1988 or something like that. And it's because of due to my, I think, my neighbor's bad influence.
What do you mean by bad influence?
Oh yeah, he introduced me to this new genre of music at that time when we grew up in the 80s, or heavy metal. And then
okay.
Yeah. And then I went to extremes. I further went to exploring death metal, thrash metal, black metal. So yeah, those were the metal point for me, because I think I was surrounded with this, in general, this visual culture, the band logos, T-shirts, the looks, how they are connected with the band itself. I like the attitude, the techniques when it comes to the music. So the main core to my practice it has to do with the love of music.
So what was the album cover for you that sort of first piqued you, that interested you? Can you remember the album cover? Whose album was it?
I think I have to say it's Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, the Prism, right?
Yeah, the Prism. It's too minimal. I like it. They don't have the cover. It doesn't have the band's name and the title of the album. It's, it makes you stop when, while browsing through all the collection, it makes you stop. Oh, this is interesting. How come there's no name?
Mm-hmm.
But no, a lot of time passes by. I think you get to learn how come, why it had to not have those, titles, because it messes the design. The image is too strong itself that it doesn't need type or fonts.
So
to
when you browsed through the album collection of your father and you bumped into the Pink Floyd album cover, was it necessary for you that the songs or the band was good, or were you just attracted to the album covers?
at first, everything has to start for me with the image, the album cover.
Okay,
I've always believed that album covers are the what do you call it, the gateway to the
the
music.
gateway. Okay,
Yeah. The gate- oh yeah. So yeah, influence and my practice is shaped by that movement also with the hippie culture. If I go back with the 1960s avant-garde or underground subcultures,
hmm,
musics like krautrock from Germany, and then 70s came the hippie, 60s the hippies culture, and then the punk came in probably mid 1970s. So it
so
really
you like looking at the album covers and all of that stuff, but so you felt like you wanted to do something. It had something to do with that, album covers and music, rock and roll, and
yeah.
all of that. You wanted to be a part of that. So that is quite a wide range of interests, right? Because that's quite vague. I mean, like you could be a musician, you could be you could be a music producer, you could be a studio owner, you could be a graphic designer. So when did you finally pick that small part of that whole culture, graphic designing? Murag, this is really what I want to do, and this is what I want to do for a living. At what point was that in your life?
I started drawing at the when I was in nursery. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I knew that I would pursue someday. That has to do with the arts or visual in general. So yeah, I think you know in my household, my father's collection of books, photography, paintings, was exposed at an early age
Okay.
because of them.
So
Yeah.
when did you realize? When did you find out finally that this is what you wanted to do you wanted to make a living off of this? Murag, you felt, hey, I can make money off of this. This is not just a hobby. This is
Yeah.
something that I can maybe make a career out of.
Yeah. When I was in college, I took up what do you call this? Information technology. It was big
Okay.
at that time,
Yeah.
but I had no idea what I was going into. I
Okay.
failed. I dropped out.
All right.
And I think it took me 1 year to realize what what would I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Good
And
question, right?
yeah, and it so happened that my mom, who's a dermatologist, had me make a brochure for her clinic, and
Hmm.
so I had to learn Photoshop, and that's it. From there, okay, maybe this could be my. I told myself maybe I could take this direction and make this my, make it into a living.
Wow.
Yeah,
So your mother gave you a project, but you didn't have a skill set to do that yet because you were still researching and
yeah,
looking for information about the software to make brochures, right? So
yeah.
you finally made that, and then what happened? Tell me about the feeling. Like, so after you finished the brochure, was there like were there projects coming in now for making brochures or stuff
I
like that?
was, yeah, I was just doing it for her, and
Okay.
then and I thought that because I wasn't really aware that you need to take up when it comes to fine arts or everything. I didn't know there was a fine arts
Uh,
course for
okay.
in school. So I wasn't ready going to college, and basically I had no idea. I just want to have fun. So I asked myself, why do you need to go to school, you know, to enter art school, you know? But then, after that, okay, I just want to get it on with, and I just want to graduate, take up this 10-month course, graphic design abroad.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in Toronto, Canada.
So after that moment when your mother asked you to make a brochure, you felt like you needed to learn more, so you went to graphic designing school in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah, and I felt, while doing that, the creative process, it felt good. It felt right. So maybe I just had to trust my instincts.
Okay.
So I followed that.
Can you just backtrack a little bit if you don't mind, PJ? You
Yeah.
mentioned there was like a year when you were in school, you took up IT, and then your mom asked you to make her brochure for her dermatology clinic. What was that year about? Like, was it a hiatus? Moraga, what's that? A vacation of sorts? Were you just bumming around at that time? What was that year? Because it looks like that was an important 1 year.
Yeah, that was the right word, bumming. I was
Okay.
bumming the whole year
Okay.
back in 2003.
Okay.
But then I already had, I was thinking of, doing that as a business rather
Hmm.
just before you graduate. So I was thinking, maybe on the sides I can do this
Okay.
while studying, graphic design. Yeah. So I had to
Because
make, yeah, go ahead.
because I think because I think especially for artists, I think space for creation is important, right? Space is very important. I think you had that
Sorry.
space called let's call that space that 1 year that you were able to discern what you wanted to do, and as it turns out, you wanted to do something with graphic designing, and your mother asked you to make a brochure, and you eventually pursued it into a formal education in a 10-month special course in Toronto, Canada. So, what did you learn in Toronto, Canada for 10 months?
Just the technicals, actually.
Okay.
But it's good. It was a good exposure also when it comes to the whole graphic design thing. I was exposed to the books, the independent ones. Yeah, it's good learning for me. And also, I keep watching bands, live concerts
Okay.
there. One of my uh, dream actually is to watch those. I had a list of who I wanted to see at that
Okay.
time, and actually, yeah, those were the learning, what do you call this, formative years for me when it
Did you
comes
ever
to.
watch Pink Floyd live?
No, sadly,
Because
no.
I remember there was a video I saw on television. There was like a huge uh, uh, art installation of a pig. I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember that concert?
No, no, no.
It was it was it's funny that that was the way, or that is the way you look at music, because I'm also a music fan. I also love music. I also love bands. Maybe I didn't get into to death metal, but I did get into music. But what I was looking at was, the cover was secondary to me. Of course, I remember those album covers; they were memorable to me. But I was really more on the actual music, or the band, and all of that stuff. I wasn't really looking into the visual art of it all. But now that you mentioned it, Murag, yes, of course, there was a lot of visual imagery involved with the whole process of music making, right?
Yeah, exactly. And time consuming.
Yes, yes. So, you went to school in Toronto, Canada, and then did you come home immediately after your graduation, or did you get experience in Toronto?
No, I went home. I went back home back in November 2004, and then I had to
Okay,
wait a couple of months. Then tried to apply for in Bigfoot.
okay,
So,
okay.
yeah. So that was my first and last job. Yeah.
So you
While maintaining Inodoro on the side, an extra gig.
So you had Inodoro, your company that you founded, as well as a job in Bigfoot. Was it
Yeah.
also? Did it have something to do with graphic designing?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
was assigned in the marketing department, but I was assigned in the design department actually. So yeah.
So
Commu-
tell us about the company that you founded, Inodoro. What is this all about? Inodoro. Does this mean the actual Inodoro, the toilet?
yeah.
Is that what it? Is that the
Yeah.
literal
Exactly.
meaning of it?
As crass as it can go.
Okay. Okay. So tell us
Yeah.
about that company. What is that all about?
No, at that time I just needed to have a name, and with all this inspiration and influence with the death metal scene and extreme music in general, I just wanted actually to test na if I can have this name Inodoro, would it really matter? Would it take what part of a, what do you call this? Maybe it would it lessen this what do you call this, chance for me to get more clients because of
Mm-hmm.
the name.
Mm-hmm.
So I was testing this direction. It wouldn't the name wouldn't matter as long as your body of work
Okay.
speaks for itself,
Okay.
the quality of your work. So yeah. So
So that
until
was the
now,
experiment. That was the experiment.
yeah,
Yeah. Does it
it was
matter?
just a joke. Yeah, and it was just a joke to myself.
Okay.
I didn't take it really seriously, and it was like an
So how
yeah,
long ago was this joke that you told yourself?
2003.
2003, Inodoro.
Yeah,
So I guess you have been laughing all the way to the bank with that joke, huh?
yeah, yeah.
So
And yeah.
go ahead, continue, please.
So yeah, as of now, well, recently I concluded and already made a symbol because I was planning to drop the name Inodoro and just go with the symbol.
Okay.
And I was influenced with Prince.
Prince, yeah. The
In grade
artist
school.
formerly known as Prince, right? The symbol.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to go that again with the if it's because I can drop the name and then go with the symbol. I want something that is powerful and authoritative at the same time, and perhaps it maintains its integrity. So yeah, I was hoping I'm doing that in the future.
So that's in flux still. That's still a work in progress. Whether you're going to still keep the name Inodoro or just
Yeah.
be a symbol.
Yeah, but I think I just recently decided now, man, that probably in a couple of months I have to drop this name Inodoro and just go with the symbol.
Oh, maybe you can invite me to the unnaming of your
Yeah,
band of your brand, right?
yeah. You
So
probably hold an exhibit here.
yeah, exactly. That would be amazing. So I've you do digital graphic art. I mean, you also do corporate stuff like like what you did for your mother, logos and all that stuff. But I think what stands out is the graphic art uh, that you have created. Explain to us what that is, because it's almost like an abstract painting. It's almost like a difficult to discern at first glance. It
Yeah.
looks very complicated, deep, and chaotic. Explain to me what it is that you do. That whole uh, chaotic graphic art that I see on your page.
Uh, I think first thing is that along the way I wanted to focus on the graphic arts. That's more about expressing myself rather than just communicating messages, which is what graphic design is all about. So I'm more inclined with the art side of things. So when it comes to that, experimentation design is part of my DNA. So every now and then, every year, I always make sure that I have time for myself creating this, try to create more unknown areas of, within the uncharted territories of within visual communication. So I'm looking for new shapes, new forms, experimenting with colors, and hoping that these experiments as research actually. So I'm doing these explorations as research, and hoping one day will turn into commercial projects as well. So probably album covers, editorial design, which it may apply. I but then again, I I think I want to do album covers forever.
Mhm. Because I've seen your work with Super Melt. Super Melt is, I think, is that a recording company?
Yeah, a record label that
Okay.
I co-founded with 3 other partners.
Okay. Is it based here in Cebu or is it in Manila?
It's based here in Cebu, and I actually co-founded it for the reason of to have my own platform as a graphic designer, so I
Okay.
can design all the album covers as much as I want without any dictation from other artists.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe
Your self-expression, your art, does it already have a category like what when you express for yourself, uh, your exploration when you develop those artworks? Is it a genre, or it's still something that's just in the beginning stages and does not belong to any category yet? I'm
well,
curious.
my friend actually told me that I'm more categorized in the experimental design, but I'd like
Okay.
to think that's more digestible. Probably I'll fit into the abstract category.
Abstract. Okay. All right. It's funny that you mentioned that because I had a chance to talk to abstract painter Sio Montero just a few weeks ago, and he was explaining to me what abstract art is. So this is probably the digital uh, version of abstract art, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just you know my process is different. You know, I take all these techniques from different movements from certain era of art actually. So when it there's this Dada, Fluxus, Futurism movement.
Okay. Does it go straight? Is your art Does your art begin with a computer, or do you start with a pen and paper? How does what is the process like for you when you create something? If something is in your mind, if you envision something in your mind, do you immediately go to your computer, or do you go and grab a piece of paper?
For every client or for every exploration, I think it varies actually. You know, sometimes I sketch, sometimes I go directly. You know, if I have something clear in mind, I go directly on the computer. For example, combining image and then font, because I already know what I'm going to do. But unlike other stuff, I go with drafting, sketching, because I think there's this, in a way, it feels therapeutic when you do those stuff, doing sketches and drafting, and also take photos actually and try to manipulate it at some point, you know, until the idea comes clear. Then I go to what do you call this, to the computer actually. So I have different kinds of methods in doing this. So yeah, I don't know if that falls into experimental design, but I'm just doing all this stuff unconventionally, I think.
What you do is like you said, very unique. It's experimental. But I'm curious, do you do that alone? Do you do that in a vacuum? Or do you have like a team that helps you think, and also you bounce off your thoughts with, or is it just you?
Well, to start, it has to be just me, and then I
Okay.
bounce it off with a few two of my assistants and one project manager, which is my wife actually,
Hmm.
project manager. So yeah, we bounce off, we throw in different ideas, and then we think I should go in this direction. So yeah, we it takes time actually. It takes no, not just a day, but sometimes weeks and probably a month go so. But you know, like and clients pay you in a, what do you call this? Sometimes pay you in a premium price. So you have to do this as fast as you can. You know, because you know it's still a
Does
job.
does the time element, does the time pressure, let's call it that, uh, affect the output?
Yeah, and it's sometimes a good good, what do you call this, factor for me, because sometimes I'm inspired with deadlines actually. You know, the need, the urgency to come up with ideas faster. But you know, I've trained myself in a different way that, you know, having probably I'm comfortable in doing abstract thinking, and with those abstract thinking, you're aware, you're absorbing all this kind of information from your client, and then how do you translate that easily to the wider audience that they can understand it simply, you know. So that's my job.
When you create art, whether it's for a client or just for yourself, what emotion do you draw it from? What emotion gets you the best output? Sorry.
I think being joyful is the greatest, you know, for me, the greatest mood actually. Being joyful, yeah,
So
being happy.
being happy, being joyful gives you the best output. It's funny that you mentioned that because your
It's cliche.
interests, your when you were a kid, you wanted death metal, right? You wanted rock and roll, you wanted heavy metal, and that in a manner of speaking, that is actually quite a aggressive. I even venture in saying negative energy, right?
Yeah.
People in that genre, artists in that genre are screaming about something
Yeah.
or complaining about something, you know, like down with a man or something like that, or with something to do with the relationships that have gone wrong. So
Yeah.
that's quite negative energy. So
Yeah.
why is it that you didn't channel your creativity in that direction, and why did you tap into happiness and joy instead? I'm curious why.
Um, I think death metal for me is a way of therapy. You need to let it out. You need to let out those bad feelings. So for me, I don't consider it as a negative energy.
Okay.
I think it's just what do you call this? Like a channel for me to
Okay.
express. And then so yeah, um, I think yeah.
Did you ever have a band or something like that? Did you try a
Yeah, when
band
I
or?
was in college, yeah.
Oh, really now?
What are the odds? It's a death metal band.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do vocals.
Oh, really now? So how long was this band around?
2001, just around when I was in college, and
So just 1 year. So did you make any album perhaps, or
no,
did you make any original songs? You were just a cover band?
yeah, just a cover band at
Okay,
the time.
interesting. So you knew the process of actually making metal music. So
Yeah,
I guess that's a good study for you as well, right? You mentioned earlier, PJ, that uh, uh, because of course what you do is not just for yourself but for a client, and most of the time if it's a corporate client, it is going to be consumed by the public, right? and
yeah,
and I noticed that some of your designs are quite complex, quite deep, quite chaotic, and sometimes you need to decipher and understand it. How do you have a careful mix, a careful balance of being artsy, being true to your art, but at the same time palatable to the regular Joe?
yeah. Oh well, in other words, I think I finally found a way to combine my style and just to give in a little bit of the commercial side of design, because in the end, what matters most is you want to make your clients happy. Are you satisfied with my work, and have I produced the right reaction from your customers?
Hmm.
Have I engaged your customers in a way creatively? So those are the points that I'm considering. You know,
So how do you decipher, like, for example, you get into a project and then you really want it to be like this because this is what it feels like for you, but the regular Joe, the regular person, does not have the eyes of an artist like you.
yeah,
So Medyo, it'll be too much of a stretch for you to expect them to understand what you're trying to say, right? So now I'm going to say careful balance between those two energies, those two forces, your
yeah.
eyes and their eyes. So have you found the Goldilocks zone, so to speak, that it is a compromise between what you want and what is acceptable to the public?
I think first and foremost, my clients trust me. So
Okay.
I knew if I can tell actually from the first stage that my client doesn't trust me, then it ends there.
Okay.
So yeah, I somehow in every project I think I make sure what I do is first for me is to make it novel.
Okay.
It feels like limited edition, for example. But yeah, in the end, it just boils down to trust actually.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then for example, if my client knows how to target their audience, and I just form in my on my end, I try to take the different approach, take the different road to communicate those messages through that visual. So yeah, if it, you know, I just want to try differently. That's why, you know,
So
I'm for
your
me, that's
what you
my
do is
passion.
you create graphics, you create design, you create logos, but you're also an art director as well, right? And
Yeah,
handle a bigger scope, not just creating of a specific artwork, a specific logo, for example, but art direction of all the clients that you've had. PJ, maybe you can give us a few of them, and maybe you can share to us what they are. We'll just show the graphics later on in the editing of this video. Maybe you can share to some of your clients' names.
Names.
Yeah, or just the designs that you've created for them.
I think the easiest client I had was Uniqlo.
Okay. What was this collaboration with? This is a Japanese brand, right? Uniqlo.
Japanese.
Tell us about that. Wow, so you had a chance to work with Uniqlo. What was this all about? Tell us.
Well, I got an email from Uniqlo Japan, from their main headquarters, and they said that they wanted to collaborate with me on a few of pieces. So we end up designing 5 designs for 10 t-shirts,
Okay.
10 different colors. So that was a big thing for me at that time. So after them and we negotiated, actually, then I was what do you call this, transferred with their what do you call this, a different agency that handles all their what do you call this, collaborations within Japan and for the international collaborations. Yeah, so I wasn't contacted with the Uniqlo Manila or Uniqlo Philippines, but I was, contacted directly.
So did these t-shirts get sold here in the Philippines? Could we buy that here? Is it still available in Cebu or in the Philippines or online perhaps?
No, that was done back in 2017.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
2018. It ran through like 2 years.
Okay. I also saw a work that I asked you earlier, the Sledgehammer album cover of Peter Gabriel's song, right? I was looking at the original cover, and it was a sledgehammer, and you showed me a digital representation of a sledge. Yeah.
The connection is choppy.
How about now? Am I still? Is it okay now? Is it better now? How about now? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about that Sledgehammer album cover of Peter Gabriel. What was that all about? Was that for an art show? What was that?
Yeah. I made that artwork for an exhibition in London, which was held in Somerset House, in London, for the exhibition called Secret 7. So the idea for that was they have this songs from different artists, and I had to pick Peter Gabriel because I'm a big fan of Peter Gabriel. And the idea for that exhibition was, if you pick a certain artist and their song, you have to reinterpret that in your own style of artwork. And they sell those after you design those artwork, they sell those in form of a one-off vinyl artwork, right? And so it's up for, it was sold actually, and then it goes, what do you call this, I think it was for a charity actually. So and Peter Gabriel was there actually.
Wow, so you met Peter Gabriel?
No man, I was just here, man.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to
actually physically meet him.
physically be there, but it was a good exhibition and exposure. One of my idols were there, Stanley Donwood of Radiohead, the sixth Radiohead, and then who was that also? Goldie, the drum and bass figure, legend.
Okay. So, out of all the work that you've done for album covers, under yourself personally or under Inodoro, which particular album cover design are you most proud of?
Locally, I think it would have to be Honey Drop Signs, and then the recently concluded Chelsea Dawn's Mulat single EP. And for international one, it has to be Zachary Allen Starkey's album with Bernard Sumner of New Order.
Bernard Sumner of New Order had an album by himself?
No, they have this collaboration under Zachary Allen Starkey.
Okay.
So they just collaborated on 2 songs for that album.
So you created the album cover for that?
Yeah. And then I think Bernard is planning to have a remix album of that. I think of one of those songs within that album soon.
So how do you get in touch with all of these international artists? How do you contact all of
Actually,
these
you
artists?
know, I
How
just
did they reach out to you?
yeah.
Do you reach out? How does it work?
Zachary Allen Starkey reached out to me through Facebook. Actually,
Okay,
he
okay.
saw my work, and then from there we talked a little bit, and then history, you know,
Maybe
went on.
we can ask him to send us some of his songs. Maybe you can also play it on the radio or something, right?
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube actually. Yeah.
Okay, all right, all right. So when you mentioned that you joined the Secret Seven art out, was it an art competition, an art show?
It was an
And
art exhibition.
how does it work? Do you join many of these? Have you had your own art show as well, a solo PJ or
No, I never
uh,
had.
okay,
Never had.
okay. Is that one of your dreams to have an art show by yourself, or what's the future like for a graphic designer, PJ? Oh, what are your plans? How does the future look like for graphic designing for you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I'll exhibit. My first solo exhibition.
Okay,
It has to be that not just the typical exhibition that you see on graphic design or art exhibition, but I wanted to have more conceptualized in terms of space, using the space of the exhibition. What do you call this establishment, and perhaps maybe of a certain I don't know, maybe a certain concept and ideas or theme going on.
so is your artwork? Do you print that on a platform? Do you print that on a canvas, or is it because sometimes I think I read that from your page, the end of material art or something like that, that art will now be just bits, zeros and ones, right? Digital art instead of actual physical art when you have to paint on a canvas. Uh, what do you visualize your show to be? Will it be a bunch of screens, a bunch of LEDs splattered all over the
It
place?
might, yeah, it might
Huh?
be an immersive thing, and then I
Okay,
have to collaborate with the different artists that I'm comfortable working with,
okay.
especially from someone in Manila who does code, and someone friend of mine who's originally from Cebu who does this 3D. So yeah, I definitely want to come up with an exhibition that's immersive, that's more related to the advancements of design and art in general, and the intersection between probably some of those that I'm interested in, science and music. So yeah, so I don't know what that looks like, but fascinated within those realms of within those topics.
But
So yeah,
scary. That's quite scary, right? I mean, the unknown is one of the scariest things in the world, right? I mean, like, and what you don't know is quite scary. And I think you're the kind of person. It sounds like you're trying to push the boundaries, the push the
exactly.
envelope to things that have never been seen and
Exactly.
shapes that have never been expressed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the one thing. People in general, the general public are afraid of what's unfamiliar to them. So when it comes to my practice, I have to mix this being experimental, doing this experimental design or abstract design, mix with this mainstream or commercial sensibility, and then going a little bit further with the trend, but not too much or stretch it to be so unfamiliar. Because people might be can't really digest it, they don't get it. So yeah, I'm trying to balance that as well.
Right. One of the things that I'm a stickler for original, right? I mean, like I've always wanted to look for something original, like like I've been asking around, what's the original sound of a Cebuano artist? How you define that? What's Cebu sound? Like nobody can seem to clearly digest or distill that idea of what the sound of Cebu is, because there are different interpretations, different expressions of music, right?
Yeah.
So my question here is, what is original? I mean, isn't for example, when it comes to music, hasn't every single configuration of music and every possible combination of notes, every guitar riff, every piano key has already been expressed because music is a body of art that's been around for ages.
Yeah.
So when you express a guitar riff, for example, chances are somebody's already played that specific guitar riff a long time ago, right? And I'm sure you're aware of all of the uh, cases against other artists, for stealing their art, stealing their music, right? For
Right.
plagiarism, right? So
Yeah.
my question is, what is original? How does PJ Ong define what an original is?
Original doesn't exist anymore,
Okay.
especially in the internet era. Everything, all information is there, all images, all things you can see. And I think originality seems to be like boring at the same
Okay.
time.
Hmm.
And as Banksy says, why don't you, steal good ideas? Actually, keep it
Hmm.
more interesting. Probably Picasso said that, but I never had a what do you call this, formal education when it comes to art. So
Hmm.
I had to research my own. So when it comes to originality,
Go ahead, continue.
for me it doesn't really matter, as long the important thing is that what you do makes you you know with the most makes you happy, gives you the most energy. You don't care about originality anymore, man.
But it
No.
sounds like you're expressing what it sounds like what you're expressing is you're searching for something original, right? You're trying to
Yeah.
push the boundaries of your
Uncharted
art.
territory.
Uncharted territory. Isn't uncharted territory a kind of originality, right?
At some point, yeah. At some point, you know, that's the beauty about the unfamiliar thing is you don't have the answers now.
Okay.
So that's always been my goal to keep on experimenting, because you never know, mixing all these influences, these shapes, these forms, these everything in one artwork. You never know what makes it. This could be an interesting take on something, and perhaps you know maybe we can use this in a commercial platform. So yeah, it's a it's a thing.
So you're influenced by the album cover of Pink Floyd, the Prism.
Yeah.
This was an album from the 70s, I think. Aside from that, who are the other artists? So what artworks have you been inspired by?
To be honest, when I was looking at album covers at that time, looking at the liner notes and credits, I don't go for I don't usually go for who designed this album cover. I just go tell myself that, oh, I like this. I don't try to search who is the artist behind this
Okay.
artwork. So yeah, I'm just more inclined. Oh, I like the album from Pink Floyd. I like the album from the Beatles.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are my points.
So you don't follow a particular artist's work.
No, but yeah, eventually I did.
Okay. So
I
who do
had
you
to
follow
research
these days? Who do you follow now? I mean, whose body of work do you admire and has influenced you somehow?
along the way was I just found out about him like probably 15 years ago. Peter Saville from who did the album cover from Joy Division and then New Order.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the main inspiration. And then who
Wow. So
else?
you did. You're inspired by his work. The person
Yeah,
who did the album of
yeah,
Joy Division and New
yeah,
Order, and now you're making an album cover for one of the members of New Order.
yeah.
Was that like a dream come true somehow for you? Was that?
Yeah, it's full of joy, man, doing that. I can't even believe that.
How long ago was this, PJ?
Last year.
Wow. Wow.
Last year.
Congratulations. How come I've never heard of it, man? Because of the pandemic, I guess, right?
Probably, yeah. And I think I don't show it every often.
Oh,
On
well,
social
it's nice to show off
media.
once in a while, right?
I don't know,
So,
maybe it's a one thing though. I don't know. we have this, we have to be this, humble, stay humble or effect. But I
So
don't know.
so aside from that, aside from the guy who did the album covers of Joy Division and New Order, who else do you follow? Whose work do you also follow aside from
Yeah,
that guy?
I always go back to the era with 1960s and 70s. So yeah,
Okay.
so the guy who did Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon,
Hmm.
Hypnosis Design Studio, Storm Thurgeson. Yeah, and who else? Who else? I think I'm inspired with some who is this? This legendary graffiti artist of Futura
Hmm.
2000. Yeah, and there's a bunch of artists also that I admire. But when it comes to, because I have this love of music, so yeah, I'm more inclined with those you know artists like Peter Saville and Hypnosis Studios. So doing album covers. Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm sure you have your own process, but I'm wondering, generally speaking, what the process is like for making album covers. Do they listen to the songs first in the album, or they just make a album cover based on what their manager likes them to do, like make an album cover that looks like it's happy? What's the process like for you personally if you make an album cover?
Well, that's the good thing about running an independent record label because nobody dictates for
Okay,
you. Uh,
so how do
yeah.
you do it?
So, well, it's different actually but usually, the easiest route was to go to and try to interpret their music, but sometimes you try to interpret their what it calls the energy of the
Hmm.
band, the energy of the song, the specific style that they're on that at that moment with their career. So yeah, it depends really. And then if I take a different route, I try to make connections within those from their style and then within my style. So it's not a one size fits all thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's different processes
Yeah. Different.
per album, right?
Yeah.
This genre of artwork, PJ, is quite new, right? And you're one of the most successful at it here in the Philippines, perhaps. But is this a genre? Is this a kind of artwork, a kind of form of art that we have a chance at dominating or at least succeeding globally? Is this something that the Filipino can be good at? Do
Oh
you have a
yeah.
chance? Do you have a chance?
Oh yeah. Definitely, man. Yeah. Well, just Filipinos in general are hardworking. They're passionate in a way. So nothing is really that impossible when it comes to doing reaching for your goals and
Okay.
dreams. Yeah.
So you feel that this is a genre that people here in are there more people like you here in Cebu? I mean, is there like a group of people, artists like you here in Cebu these days? Is there like a group of you, or just are you an original all alone?
You mean my style of graphic design?
Yes, yes.
Well, I resonate with some of my friends. There's Seth Maya who started this visual conference here in Cebu, and then another Glenn Lomon. There's a few of my friends because I think somehow we are more drawn into this esoteric type of I don't know if you want to call it elitist, but
Okay.
just a few people understanding this type of art, this genre of art. So yeah, I may know a few people
I
within.
remember when I had my conversation with this abstract artist, Sio Montero, a few weeks ago. He mentioned that we need support from the government, the artistic community, like yourself and others, need the support of the community, need the support of the government for our art workers to flourish. What are your thoughts on the role of of government in support of artists? Must artists succeed by themselves? Must artists stay hungry, or do you think a little nudge here and there from the public, the government, would be good? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, it makes, if there's support from the government, and actually that's what they're doing recently. I think we're part of it. We just signed a what do you call this, a petition for, to actually to hoping that this bill would what do you call this, pass on the new the incoming what do you call this, government or presidential bills. But yeah, it makes a big difference for artists. If a government supports artists or arts in general in the Philippines, man, it's one of those that can really boost our economy. One of those, it generates tourism. It puts us on the map. Now we have our own identity as, as artists, as and for when it comes to graphic design in general, it's a good thing because it generates jobs that they think that we have a lot of graphic designers here who are so good that we can produce. In a way, it's a little bit cheaper compared to their, to our counterparts abroad. But yeah, I believe so that with the support of the government, it really would.
I think recently we were awarded the City of Design, right? By was it UNESCO, the awarding giving body, if I'm not mistaken?
I've read about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I mean, do you get a sense that Cebuanos are generally artistic, and if so, where do you think we get our artistry? Where do we get our inspiration? Where is that spring coming from? Where's that inspiration coming from? Does it come from a well somewhere in Cebu?
It's our water.
Where do you think that's coming from, man? And how do you how do you try to get inspiration? Like, I know you mentioned earlier in one of your works, I actually was listening to some of your talks, and you mentioned that you have to try to get inspiration by watching movies and just exposing yourself to different kinds of art. Maybe you could expound on that. How does one get more creative? Because I think that's one of the most difficult things to summon your creativity, right? Sometimes artists they have artist's block, right? I mean, like, it's not all the time that you're inspired to create. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been doing this for quite a long time now, PJ. So you probably have a process, and you probably have a way to sort of coax your creativity. How do you do that?
Simple. Just stay away from your computer. Go
Okay.
outside. Probably drink.
Okay.
And just get inspired with the surroundings around you. I think I'm more recently. I've adapted to be a, what do you call this, the plantito thing.
So you have
I like,
plants now?
yeah. Oh, it's good therapy. It's good for the well-being and mental health. So yeah, I think just going outside, see around. Sometimes you have whenever at a certain moment there's this eureka, what do you call this, spark inside you that okay, I know what to do, I know what works, here we go. So I'll go back to my computer and that's it.
So you mentioned stay away from your computer.
Yeah.
So that's and do nothing, or do you do something like watch a movie or go to an art gallery, a art museum, or
Anything.
expose yourself to different anything, right?
Anything outside from your comfort zone, anything outside from the familiar, anything outside from your everyday life, man, what you see every day.
Okay, what you do, of course, is mostly digital art, and you don't have to actually physically deliver something, right? Although there are some instances perhaps that you have to physically deliver, maybe like a signage or whatever, right? But usually what you do is really digital, so you don't really have to meet person to person that often. In fact, we're having a Zoom conversation right now. So, but we have been in this crisis for almost 2 years now. This pandemic, how has it affected you? How has it affected the industry of art, especially your kind of art?
I think everyone, all of us have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Uh, I think three of my partners in Manila started this initiative called Art Restart. So basically, it's like an initiative for the creative people in general in the Philippines that it's like exchanging ideas. It's like crowdsourcing of how do we, in coming up ways of how do we survive from this pandemic, probably pivot our career in a more sustainable way. So yeah, I was involved with that, with a few of my friends in Manila. So that's Art Restart. And then what was the other question again, man?
I know. I'm just curious how you guys are affected by it, because in a way, artists, we are part of the sort of like the gig economy, right? We
Okay,
don't
yeah,
have projects all the time. It depends on who needs what, right? For example, if somebody needs a logo, if somebody needs to
yeah,
design their whatever their brand, then you have a gig, you have a
yeah.
job, and then after that, you wait for the next one and the next, right? So we belong to the sort of the gig economy, and it is kind of an informal economy, but we don't really have a. We're not as organized as the other industries. We don't have a. I don't know if you have, but I'm sure you have, but it's not as organized as the other industries, right? So
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm trying to say is, how do you survive this kind of environment now that we are in this pandemic? I think that's the question.
I think because of I think with the help of this technology advancements like this Zoom and everything, Skype, we can send, because since we're digital artists, I'm just speaking on my people of graphic designers in general. I think it's easier to communicate and reach out for clients, anywhere in the world. And of course, at the start of the pandemic, we were affected by it. But unfortunately, all of my clients still remained and still pushed through, even though,
Hmm.
I know economically they're affected, but they still wanted to push through with the project. So I'm lucky at some point in that way, if I must say.
You are some kind of a. I'm trying to figure out a word to describe you and your art and what you do, and I think a visionary would probably be an appropriate word to describe what you do, right? Because you're trying to visualize the future, something that has never been seen before. Um, PJ, in your own estimation, how does the future of design look like? What are the trends that'll be happening? Because the humanity has been exposed with a seismic, earth-shattering, life-changing crisis, this pandemic, right? Murag natayog ang the entire humanity, right? So I think something has to give, right? And I think this will allow something new to arise. In terms of design, how do you feel about how does it look like in the next few years? How does designing look like for you and for the world? Perhaps what is your vision for the future of design?
Yeah, I believe design plays a big role in the future. I think right now, I think I assume that probably recently I think designs have been more emotional, been more immersive and more engaging in a way, in an emotional level. So yeah, I think that's the other job when it comes to creatives, that they can find ways of what suits for the new consumers, for the new yeah new sets of consumers in the future. So I think it makes a big impact if it's done well. If it's eh, graphic designs remains forever, man. I still believe that. But in also creative and what do you call this, arts in general, the creative industry, it will remain forever. Uh, Brands need it, people need it.
The
It's
the most common designs, the most uh, omnipresent logos, if you will, are the simplest, right?
yeah,
Let's say, for example,
agree.
Apple, right? Just a
Mm.
piece, just an apple, right? Uh, the design of Facebook, for example, it's actually a pretty simple font. It's not very complicated, right? Um, Where is this going in terms of design sensibility? It looks like uh, everything is looking the same. Are we going into homogeneity? Is everything going to look similar and plain and white? Or are we going to the direction of more color, more shapes, and more design? It looks like, based on the logos of the popular brands that we have these days, they're very simple, right? They're
Yeah,
almost similar.
similar in
Where are we
concept.
going with this, PJ? What does this mean?
Man, actually, the designer needs to, because the reason why you hire the designer is for you
Okay.
to differentiate yourself or stand out from your competitor. But I don't know why, how come most of the famous brands in the world have, have the same font, have the same minimalistic approach when it comes
Hmm.
to design. And I believe why they chose those, because you have to consider just not just the overall logo, but you have to consider when it gets printed. Do you want do you want to save costs when it comes to if you have logos that have different colors, it becomes expensive to produce in a printed matter. So those are the types of questions that you're going to ask. And how come you're going for this black and white color or monochromatic colors? And you see, I think psychologically they also found themselves that people tend to get the unnecessary elements within those logos for it to communicate well and for them, to absorb it easily when they see those logos. That's just my take.
So I think one of the most successful brands in the world is Apple, and it
Yeah.
is a beautifully designed brand. Not just its simple logo, but the products that they have is also beautifully designed. In fact, everybody wants to
Yeah.
look like Apple, right?
Yeah.
So I think design of anything is crucial. So do you also do that? Do you also have do you have design for shapes and forms of products, or you're limited to just designing just the logos, for example?
No, no, no. No, we also try to experiment on different, for example, what do you call this? Packaging design.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're not just limited to logos. We tend to, for example, a branding client. So usually we carry on all the aspects of design needed for that company. So we're not just limited to those logos. So we design forms, uh, of course, collaborate with the industrial designers, engineers. So yeah,
So you also do other things aside from just simple superficial designs,
yeah,
digital designs. You also design the packaging of a product, for example,
yeah,
and all of that stuff.
yeah. And
You
all
know, PJ, I wish I could see your work in a gallery one of these days. Do you have anything that is physical? Do you have anything that's printed on a frame or anything like that? Is that the plan? Do you have like a regular painter has hundreds, if not thousands, of artwork in their studios? Or how does an artist like you? How does your studio look like? I mean, is it just a computer and all of that stuff? Or do you have pieces of cardboard and paper and paint lying in the background as well?
I think that's the beauty about graphic design. It's the intersection of other disciplines. We try
Okay.
to be everything. We do art direction, photography, typography, illustration, installation. We can always apply that design sensibilities when it comes to installation, architecture, potentially architecture and other films, potentially filmmaking. So I think I can imagine doing all this in one exhibition. That would be grand, actually. You know, and when it comes to canvas, I think now because I'm drawn into the technological advancements when it comes to art and design, so I'd like to explore more on different types of canvas. For example, the laser etched, I don't know, wood. Probably I can paint over that.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, those are just some of the examples.
PJ, there are some budding artists watching this interview right now, and they're wondering where to go, what to do, what's the next step. I know you were that person. You were that young person who exactly didn't know what to do back then. You were in school for IT, and that wasn't exactly what you wanted, although it is related. And
Yeah,
you felt the energy of looking at the albums when you were young. So, it's difficult to connect the dots at an early age, right? So,
yeah.
for those people that are still connecting the dots, what is your message for them, PJ?
Well, in time, I think in time gives you answers. Your experience give you answers. You know, your emotions at that moment gives you answers. So not just take time. You know, if you want to try out graphic design as a profession, uh, see how it fits you. See you think it makes you a better what do you call this person, you know, or makes you gives you a better living. Why not, you know? And as long as you don't take away that passion or your inventiveness along with you. So yeah, I think that would be a nice, you know, advice for me. You know, just
If
take
they
it.
want to kickstart their careers with perhaps some readings, maybe you can recommend to them perhaps a book, or maybe perhaps
Misreading actually.
follow the work of an artist. Maybe you can suggest some books for them. Peter, do you have any? Follow an artist, perhaps like you did.
Yeah, for a book. And I'm more inclined with the philosophy,
Okay, go ahead.
but I think for a book, I think if you're interested in a certain artist, like for me, Futura, you know, I just trying to understand what his strategy is about, what his marketing's about, and try to
So
figure out.
Futura.
Yeah, Futura 2000, but I think he just dropped his 2000 name because I don't think it applies now.
Okay, it's kind of old, right?
Oh yeah, he's 60s now, man.
Okay, wow, he's 60 years old.
He's
Whoa.
66, yeah, years old, I think, from what I can remember. So he's with, I think, I think he came out at the same time as, I think he hung out with Andy Warhol. So he's pretty much one of,
Wow. Andy Warhol. Now that's an artist right there, right? Were
yeah,
you also inspired by his work, by the way?
because I never knew who Andy Warhol is until I went to school or probably after school. Yeah,
Okay. So I guess it's crucial to educate everyone, right? Especially the kids, to expose them to great works of art, so they will get
of
inspiration,
course.
right?
Of
Like
course.
you did.
Yeah. If you
If they
can,
want to get in touch with you and your work, PJ, where should they go? Can you share to us your social media platform so they can see what I've seen already? And there's no unseeing that work, by the way. It's beautiful. Go ahead, tell them.
well,
Social media platforms. Where can they find your work?
on Facebook, you can find me at inodoro.graphicdesign, I think.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
there's Instagram. I think it's at Inodoro Design.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can just go straight to my website, which is inodoro-design.com.
Are you part of an event that's happening very soon? Is there something that you want to plug? Because I know that there's a art Visayan Art Gallery Expo that's happening very soon this November. Are you part of anything like that? Is there something going on that you can tease us? Go ahead, sir.
No, not sure. Because I recently, I didn't have the time joining communities anymore,
Okay.
or the scene, because I don't know, maybe it's just it's hard to take a break actually. Sometimes with what's going, and at the same time what's happening with the pandemic
Yeah.
made you a little bit,
Yeah, I know, right?
careful.
But
And
but maybe that's the space that we all need to create some more in the future, right?
yeah, yeah, I just push myself eventually, further,
PJ, dagang salamat, bro. Thank you so much, man. It's been a
thank you
pleasure
so much.
talking to you.
Yeah,
I follow your work all the time, and I hope you can keep us updated with what you do on the social media platforms, because I think that's the that's the place for your
definitely.
work. I don't know, for Instagram especially. I think that's where you should show your artwork, and we'll continue supporting you. We'll be rooting for you. and all of that stuff. Thank you so much. Good luck to Inodoro. And tell me when you finally drop the name so we can just not
yeah.
call it anything and just a symbol.
And yeah, I can't add you actually on Facebook. I don't know what happened because you had too much friends, so probably just
Too much
one friend, and then so I can be part of your circle. So yeah,
Okay, PJ. I'll sure to drop one.
great to meet you, man. And yeah, happy
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. I've heard so much about you and all of that stuff. Nice to finally talk to you. All of that. Thank you so much, PJ Ong of Inodoro. Thank you so much. You stay safe, bro, and take care. All right. And I'll see you soon, mano a mano, person to person, one
Oh
of
yeah,
these days.
definitely. Over beer, man.
All right, or scotch, perhaps.
Scotch.
Older person, sorry, man. All right, bro. Take care. Take care.
All right.
Take
You
care.
too.
All right.
Life means more. Enjoy the good life. Share the good life. Life means more. Live the good life at Amoa. Look around you. Everything we need is right here. Leave a worry behind. At Amoa, we'll find the life we earn. I'll hold your hand at every turn.